Okay, next up, we're going to go through some of the control structures. It's going to be chapter 3, I guess. Okay. And control structure is actually used to construct logics. And then when you write code, I don't think you can escape writing logics. So let's see what it has to offer. So this is actually very similar to other languages. It's just the syntax that are different, right? So the first one is if statement. Okay. So if I have A equal to a number, B equal to another number, and I just want to have some logics that determine certain things, I can say if, right? And actually, I should run something first so that the syntax comes up. Select the kernel and then run. Okay. So if I say if, right, and if is followed by anything that returns true or false. So keep that in mind. We talked about things that return Boolean. It's the questions. So when you write if, you got to follow it by a question. For example, if B larger than A. See, that is a question. That means that the answer to that is true or false. You cannot if, and then I guess technically you can, but just for the beginner, if followed by anything that results in true or false. Okay? And if you write something like this, you're going to see the very first common error, which is called expected colon. Right? In Python, it's it's mandatory that you put colon right here. Mandatory. Okay? You got to put colon here first. And that's not all, because it's going to say that it's actually expects something indented block, right? So you got to give them a statement to work with. And you're going to notice this behavior right away. If you were to do if and then something and then colon and you do enter, actually your editor will indent the line for you, and it's intentional. Because Python expects anything to come after if statement to have an indent blocks. Okay? So let me just do print. Okay, let's just print something, right? And then I'm gonna say B is greater than A. So that is, like for those who just started, this one might look a bit strange. Like why do we need to do this indentation? Indent, ย่อหน้า that is actually required. Okay? Okay, so let's run it and see what happened. Okay? Ta-da! Okay? It's printing. So that means that your indented line got executed. Okay, it's printing something. But then, if you were to change your conditions to be the opposite, which is less than, and you run it, nothing happened, right? And this occurs because this if statement right here is acting like a gateway. So if the condition is true, it allows the execution of the things that inside its block, its indented blocks, right? So essentially, the line right here, it's actually leaving, it's kind of situating inside the if blocks. It's not on the main blocks anymore. So for example, this two line is on the main blocks. It's going to get executed every time you run. But anything that lives inside the if block might not get executed, depending on if the gate is open or not. The gate's going to open when this is true, right? So that's why, right? You can have more than one statement inside the if blocks. So if I were to have another print statements in here, I can do this. Yes. Okay. And same thing. Everything that gets indented lives inside the if block. So that means that it might not get executed depending on if your gateway is open or not. Okay. So in this case, nothing gets executed because this thing is not. It's inside the block that is closed right now. Okay. If I were to open it, meaning that this is true, then it allows execution inside the block, then you actually get executed both lines. Okay, very, I guess, straightforward. This is very similar to other programming language, right? But the thing about Python is that if you were to do this, can you guess what's going to happen? I just remove the indentation of the second line. What's happening? What's going to happen? Yeah, the last line will always get executed because it lives in the main blocks. So be aware that indentation does matter in certain cases. Okay, it doesn't matter how much you indent. You can even do this, and the program will be okay. Like this. I can just do one more space. It doesn't care as long as it's the same indentation. But if I were to do this, it doesn't like it. Okay? But the convention is 4 spaces. So that's why if you were to do this and then you press enter, the editor will automatically indent 4 spaces for you. Okay? All right, you have if, and actually the other thing is else if, right? So let's complete this logic. So in this case, I want B larger than A, right? But I want the other case, right, which is else if. It's shorthand, right? It's else if. It's going to be B less than A. Again, don't forget the colon. Okay, colon is mandatory, right? And then if you hit another enter, it's going to give you automatic indentation. And you can write something like B is less than A. It's always going to get executed. And as you can guess, this logic gives you 2 ways, almost like a branching path, right? If you think about the flow chart, it's going to be like one node, and then it gives you 2 paths. One is if B is greater than A, it's going to print the top line, and then otherwise, actually not otherwise, but the other way is B is less than A. So you can try that, right? If you were to run this, then you can have the 2 conditions that print things differently depending on the value of A and B. Pretty good? Yeah. The only thing that can throw you off at the beginning is the syntax, because in every other language, they always use the curly braces for block, I guess, block scope. But for Python, for some strange, actually not strange reason, but some like unique, it's quite unique in a way that they use indentation to define the block scope. And I guess the creator of Python says that block is usually more user-friendly than curly brace. I don't know if you agree or not. Yeah. Okay. In this construction, you can see that there is actually one condition that can pass through without executing anything. If A and B are equal, you're going to see that nothing gets printed equal. Nothing gets printed, right? So if you were to construct the conditions like this, you're going to see that there are some things that can pass through without doing anything. If you don't want that to happen, you're going to use the last gate. It's called the default gate. It's called else. Okay? If you do else, that means that everything that doesn't satisfy the above conditions get executed right here. If you do this, then at least something has to get executed. You don't let anything go without you doing something. Okay, else. Okay, and I just happen to know that this else means that B is equal to A, right? So that's the kind of like the complete logical conditions that you can write in your logics. Okay. But to tell you the truth, I normally it doesn't require it. Like if you don't have the else statement, it's not the end of the world. And sometimes you might want it. Like you might want this if statement to not doing anything if certain things apply. So it's up to you. It's not a bad practice if you don't have else. So don't worry about it. Sometimes I just have if just one if, just to catch something. Like for example, like if the input, it has some potential error, I just catch it with the if statement. I don't have else. That's also perfectly fine. Okay. Okay. If it's done, we're good to go. We have to have some time, so let's do for. Okay, for is very popular. If and for loop is the most popular control statement, I guess. Okay, so let me give you some motivations. Okay, I'm going to have a list fruits equal. This one I just copied. It's from my code. So if you don't want to type in, you can copy it from this guy right here. But that's not a lot. Okay, fruits, right? The fruits right here. Okay. I have 3 things in my list, right? And if I want to print them one by one, right, I can do this. I can do fruits with the index of 0. Remember, list, it doesn't have anything to do with key. So if you want to access anything in the list, you got to give him index. Okay, so the zeros index is the first guy in the list. Fruit, and then 1 would be the second guy. And the fruit with the index of 2 is the third item, right? I want to print all of them, so I'm going to do print like that, which I mean, it's better to just copy them like this, right? Print, and then print, right? And then I'm going to change the number index from 0 to 2. And I'm going to execute that. I should get, 3 things. Make sense, right? I mean, technically, if you just print fruits, then you also get 3 things too. But that's not the point, right? If you just say fruits, like here, fruit, technically, you can do that, and then you actually get 3 things. But that's not the point, right? The point is that if I want to print each of the item, then I would just have to do print statement 3 times. Okay? Just want to make sure that if you just want to see the item, you don't have to do this. You just print the whole thing, and it just give me everything. But here, I want to print each of the items separately, right? So imagine that you have 100 items in your list, then this thing's going to get too long. So that's where the for loop comes in. The for loop is very suitable for the things that very easy to do, but then it's very repetitive. Like printing each item. It's very repetitive, but easy. That's where for loop comes in, okay? So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to do for, right? And in here, you're going to choose what's it called, also index variable. I is probably the most popular choice. It can be anything. For I in, and then I'm going to choose what I is going to be. So I'm going to choose range. Range is a function. I will talk about function maybe next time, but just take my word for it. This one is another action that you can use to generate something. And in here, I want to generate a number that goes from 0 to 2. Okay? Again, this comes back to the string selection. And I have no idea why. Like this one also threw me off a lot in the past, which is if you were to do range of 0 to 3, it doesn't give you 0, 1, 2, 3. It gives you 0, 1, 2. It's the same thing with the string selection. It's going to give you the last number except the one before it. It has that concept of the one before it, again, in this function, which I really don't like it, to tell you the truth, okay? But yeah, has to be done, okay? And after this, you're going to do colon. That is mandatory. And then anything that comes afterward needs to be inside the indentation blocks. And you can execute any statement with the variable I, for example. So let me just show you. I want to print I. So as you can imagine, in this construction, we are going to execute this print statement in whatever how many times that this I is going to change in this generator. The technical term for this is called generator because it generates number. And then the I is going to take each of the number and then put it in this statement one at a time. So if I were to print this, I should get 3 numbers, 0, 1, and 2, because this one generates number. It's called generators. Okay, so if I want to generate number from 1 to 10, then actually what I do is kind of weird, right? It's going to go 1 to 11. But the second number means that you're going to take the 1 before it. So in this construction, you get 1 to 10, which is so weird. Even now, like when I write it, I still find this one very strange. But this is how it's done. Okay? So again, I'm going to go back from 0 to 3, which give me the first 3 letters, the first 3 indices. Okay? Okay, so what can I do with this? Remember this one? I want to put 0, 1, and 2 in here. And I just happen to have 0, 1, and 2 in here. So why don't we do that? I'm going to change that into fruit, but I'm going to use I. And if I were to run it, voila. All right, so as you can imagine that this one is kind of trivial because we only have 3 things. But once this thing grow into a lot of items, then all you do is the same thing. You just need to change the number of this right here. Right? Maybe we have sometimes a little bit of time for you to think about this. If I were to do this, right? If I were to have print I, right? Or maybe I'll just new ones in here, right? And I would say 0 to 100, right? That's too much. I'll do 20, okay? If I were to print I, right? I get the number of 0 to 19. I want you to try to do this. If I only want to print the even number, how would you do it? I want to print 0 to 4, 6, 8, 10 instead of all of this. And keep in mind that I should be able to change it to 100, and then I should be able to just see the even number. So do not mess anything in here, because I can always come here and change the number. Like I just want to print even number no matter what the range is. Okay, how would you do this? Just give it some thought, and I think after this exercise we should be good to go. great for lunch time, you know, get your brain working for lunch. The first hint is you gotta give it some conditions. So you should use if statement because that is where you're gonna be able to filter some number, print or not print, right? Okay, if you got it, show me and you may go. So this is the only the only thing that prevents you from lunch. How about that? That is a good motivation. โอเคครับแต่นี่มันคือเลขคี่นะขอเลขคู่หน่อยได้ไหมครับ Yep กลับบ้าน Okay he can go to lunch now see that's a very good incentive yeah you may go to lunchเสร็จละโอเคครับถูกต้องครับ You may go to lunch ตอนนี้เราทำไอ้พวกIoT อย่างนี้ให้โรงงานใช่ปะใช่ครับใช่ไหมทำเครื่องอะไรอยู่ตอนนี้
ตอนนี้ทำเป็นเครื่องทอผ้าอัตโนมัติกับเครื่องจ่ายน้ำผึ้งครับ
แล้วเราในการทำตรงนี้นี่คือเราใช้สกิลประมาณไหนบ้างในการท
ำจริงๆผมทำเป็นเขียน PLC
ครับ
ก็จะมีพวกค่าเขียนแรดเดอร์แล้วก็การไวริ่งนิดหน่อย
เราใช้ PLC จริงๆเลยใช่ไหมครับ
ใช่ครับ
มันเป็นสิ่งที่แบบซื้อมาได้ทั่วไปปะไอ้ของพวกนี้หรือว่ามัน
ทั่วไป
ครับมันราคามันอยู่ประมาณเท่าไหร่อ่ะ
ก็จะมีเลนส์ตั้งแต่ประมาณ 1,200 ถึง 4-5,000 เลยครับแล้วแต่จำนวน input output
อย่างไอ้ที่เราใช้ใน Mini Factory เนี่ยนั่นคือ PLC เหมือนกัน
PLC เหมือนกัน
แต่อันนั้นคือแพงมาก
ครับ
แต่ไม่จำเป็น Overkill สุดๆสำหรับงานของเรา
ใช่ครับ
สำหรับเรานี่คือหลักพันก็พอ
ประมาณ 2,000-3,000 ก็พอ
โอเคคือผมกำลังพิจารณาอยู่ว่าผมอยากจะใช้ PLC แต่ว่าผมไม่รู้ว่ามันแบบถ้าแบบสอนนักเรียนเฉยๆก็คือหลักพันก็ได้อยู่เนาะ
ก็ได้ครับใช้งานทั่วไปก็ได้
ทีนี้ถ้าเขียน PLC เนี่ยตัวมันเดี๋ยวขอเมาส์ ดูนักเรียนก่อนครับเพราะว่าหิวกันแล้วใช่ไหมถูกต้องครับโอเค
ลองใช้เลนส์มันต้องทำยังไง
เลนส์เหรอเลนส์ก็คือจริงๆผมจะมาแปะไว้ตรงเนี้ยมันโทษแปะไว้ตรงเลขแทนเลข3นั่นเองถ้าแบบเนี้ยต้องเลนส์ฟลุตด้วยนะครับต้องทั้งอันเลยครับเอาเลนส์ฟลุตมาแปะแทน นั่นแหละครับ ถ้าเป็นแบบก็น่าจะถูกแล้วทำไมมันไม่ถูกเพราะว่าขอดู error หน่อย list is not callable ขอดูหน่อยขึ้นมานิดนึง fruit range len fruit ก่อนขอลงมานิดนึงมันด่าตรงนี้ len fruit ผมไม่เข้าใจขอเช็คนิดหนึ่งไม่ดูเหมือนกันมันก็ถูกแล้วนี่งั้นเดี๋ยวนี่ครับปกติผมจะลองเทสแยกนิดหนึ่งว่าโอเคถ้าผมมีฟรุตเนาะโอเคมันเป็นถูกต้องเลนฟรุตมัน
คือการเอาเลขไปหาเศษครับสมมติ i เปอร์เซ็นต์2แล้วก็ลูปนี้ i เป็น1
หรือว่าผม
2แล้วก็เหลือเศษเท่าไหร่แล้วอันนั้นคือคำตอบที่ได้
list is not callable ผีหลอกผมทำมาเป็นชาติแล้ว Python list len ทำไมมันไม่ได้วะผมทำอะไรผิด
เปอร์เซ็นต์เป็น i เปอร์เซ็นต์ n
เนี่ยถูกต้องเลนเนี่ยถูกต้องแล้ว
ด้วยตัวนั้นตัว
what ไม่ใช่what คือเนี่ยถ้าผมมี list นี่คืออะไร what so weird ผมรู้แล้วคุณไปทำอะไรกันเลนในนี้แน่นอนใช่นี่ไงคุณไปเปลี่ยนคำว่าเลนของผมอะมันก็เลยเจ๊งอะครับนี่ครับมันอยู่ตรงบรรทัด somewhere in here ที่คุณไปเปลี่ยนมัน
จะเป็นตัวที่เอาไปเรียก
ไม่ใช่งั้น clear restart ใหม่คือปัญหาคือตรงนี้นะครับมันคิดว่าเลนเนี่ยคือ string ครับคือ list แต่จริงๆแล้วไม่ใช่เลนคือฟังก์ชันเอาใหม่ถ้าคุณเคลียร์ใหม่น่าจะ work นี่ไงได้ละ it's working ใช่คือคุณไปหมายถึงว่าไอ้เลนเนี่ยภาษาเขาเรียกมันเป็น global object อยู่ลอยอยู่ในอากาศอยู่ดีคุณก็ไป override มันให้กลายเป็น list ของคุณเฉยเลยมันก็เลยมี behavior ที่เปลี่ยนไปมันก็เลยเกิด error ขึ้นมาครับนั่นคือที่มาครับOkay, I don't want to keep you guys here for too long. Let me give you the solution and you may go to lunch, okay? So first, I'm going to have to if statement, right? Because I want to have condition. And the condition for testing for even number is that if that number and you have the modulo from division, right, of 2 equal to 0. Okay, so usually you test for even number by divided by 0. If you get 0, then it's the even number, right? If it's true, you have to print it. But notice that right now you have the nested statements, meaning that you gotta have this printed, indented twice, because this print statement is actually live inside the if blocks, and the if blocks live inside the for blocks. You can have nested blocks, totally fine, okay? So in this construction, you should be able to print the number without, and you can keep changing this whatever you want, okay? And I think your friend just used another cool thing that I forgot to mention. If you want to have something that is more general, for example, if I were to do this, right, and I put it right here. If I were to add another thing, like strawberry, right, and if I were to just run this, it's actually not printing strawberry for me because I have to come here and change this to be number 4, and so that it's gonna print strawberry, right? So we're gonna change two things. It's never the good idea. So the better way is actually to use len. This is to inquire the length of that string itself. If I do length of fruit, that means that this number can change respective to the size of the string itself. So if I were to add another thing, right, guava, right, then it's actually printing everything. So keep this in mind. I use this from time to time so that I don't have to change too many things when I change my data. Okay, so that's another tips for you today. Okay, enjoy your lunch.
Thank you.